Well, good Monday to you. Big changes on tap for the next several days, first of which is arriving this evening. It is a strong cold front pushing through the area. Typically, a cold front often can bring rain, some thunderstorms. Not going to be the case with this one. It's a dry cold front, but it is going to bring a big difference in temperatures. Today was mild, breezy winds out of the south. It'll be breezy again tomorrow, but the difference is once this front clears us, well, those winds are going to be moving in out of the north, and that's part of the reason it's going to get as cold as it is for the next several days. Wind chill values when you wake up on Tuesday morning, likely down into the 20s and 30s out there. This is a look at what it could feel like out that front door, 6 o'clock for those early risers, down into the mid to upper 20s across northwest Arkansas, maybe even some pockets of some 20s in the River Valley as well. It kind of just depends on how breezy those winds are, which they very well could gust up to 30 again throughout the course of tomorrow afternoon. And that's going to keep afternoon highs feeling much cooler. This is 4 o'clock tomorrow. You'll notice we're down into the mid to upper 30s in northwest Arkansas. Maybe we can squeak out some mid 40s in terms of feels like temperatures in the River Valley. The key takeaway is tomorrow's going to be blustery. You're going to want those big heavy coats most of the day, and likely you're going to need them the rest of the week. Sure, the winds are going to die down, but our actual temperatures only warming into the mid to upper 40s across northwest Arkansas over the next several days. Look at this though. By about 7 days from now, we're talking next Monday, highs in northwest Arkansas may only barely warm above freezing. More on that in a moment. In the River Valley, we'll be squarely in the low 50s for the next several days, but here comes that cold Arctic blast. Upper 30s likely by Monday afternoon. We are tracking the potential of our first wintry precipitation of the season. We're still looking at this storm system thousands of miles away. In fact, it's still closer to Russia than it actually is to the lower 48. So there's a lot of unknowns with very few actual knowns. One of the questions that we're going to be trying to get the answer to is what's the actual storm track? Depending on if it takes more of a northerly track or a southerly track, is going to provide two different scenarios. The northerly track will keep most of the wintry precipitation off to our north. Meanwhile, we see a cold rain, maybe even some thunderstorms across our neck of the woods. However, if this low pressure tracks a little bit further towards the south, as some, not all, but some models indicate may be the case, well, you guessed it, that wintry precipitation, snow, sleet, maybe even some freezing rain, well, that often shifts back towards the south as well. It's still going to be a couple more days before we know a better idea of the storm track and how deep the cold air is, if there's any cold air at all. If the cold air is shallow, well, that lends itself to more of a freezing rain event. If it's a little bit more deep, maybe we're looking at sleet and or some snow. But this far out, there's just too many unknowns to be able to determine specifics to that degree. I think in the next couple of days, between, let's say by Wednesday, we'll probably have a pretty general idea of timing and precipitation type. And by later in the week, we'll have a pretty good idea of specific amounts, specific locations, and a more precise timeline. So there's no reason to panic at this point. There's no indications that you need to go out and buy a whole bunch of milk and bread. But it is certainly something that you might want to put on your radar if you got plans this weekend. Speaking of something else that may impact you, it's going to be some bitter cold temperatures. This has been growing in consensus in the weather model data, suggesting that we're going to see an outbreak of cold Arctic air. And that's represented here from the Climate Prediction Center's 8 to 14 day outlook, indicating a large majority of us likely seeing well below average temperatures. But what does that actually mean? Well, we're looking at temperatures that may very well struggle to get out of the freezing territory. We're talking 30 plus degrees below normal early next week. Here's your 10-day forecast. Tomorrow's going to be breezy, notably cooler, highs in the mid-40s, right? New Year's Day's not bad. It's just going to be on the cool side. If you're waking up early New Year's Day, down into the 20s, highs in the mid-40s. A little bit of sunshine out there, not bad at all, though. Staying cool, relatively dry through the end of the week. Here comes that storm system, though. We'll go with a slight chance of a couple of sprinkles on Saturday. By Sunday, that's the day we're going to be really watching whether or not that cold air can convert some of that rain over into a mix of some wintry precipitation. I really think details will become more clear in the next 24 to 48 hours. Next week, though, look at that. We're waking up in the teens, high temperatures in the low to mid 30s, and that's actual air temperatures. That's not taking into account any potential wind, which inevitably is going to give us wind chill values even colder than that. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see some extreme cold weather alerts issued by the Weather Service as we get closer to that outbreak of cold Arctic air. No doubt, Old Man Winter is about to make his presence known, despite the fact that the last several days have been well above average. In the River Valley tomorrow, expect a high of 51 degrees under a partly cloudy sky. Also going to be breezy in the River Valley. Those winds could be gusting, much like today, up to about 30 miles an hour. Wednesday, New Year's Day, a high of 50, nice and pleasant, pretty seasonable, maybe slightly below average at best. Quiet through Friday. 40% chance of rain, maybe even a few rumbles of thunder on Sunday. It all depends on the track of that low pressure system, whether it goes further towards the north, further towards the south. That's going to make a lot of difference in terms of what kind of precipitation we can expect here locally. Next week in the River Valley, highs 30s, low 40s, mornings in the 20s. Better get that big heavy coat down. You're going to need it probably for the next couple of weeks. That's a check of your 10-day forecast right here on 5 Plus.